All right, chapter 8. They're heading into Woodrow Wilson School. Let's see what happens. This was a new experience. Being Herdman free on Halloween, and you could tell not everyone believed it. Luella, for instance, kept looking over her shoulder for anyone who looked unusual. Luella, I said, everybody looks unusual. It's Halloween. Charlie and Cecil looked unusual as long as they stayed together, and even more unusual when they didn't. Kenneth Jordan was a robot in aluminum foil with slinkies for ears and an alarm clock taped to the front of him. There were 2 or 3 television sets. Joyce Bender, with a box over her head and a red wig, was pretending to be I Love Lucy. Skinny Austin Hubbard was a floor lamp in brown paper wrapping, with a lampshade on his head and a flashlight to turn himself on. Maxine Cooper was a big round yellow M&M, the only candy in sight. I know, Luella said, but I keep thinking I'll see some Herdmans after all, and they'll grab Howard and shave off what little hair he's got. You will see Imogene, I told her. But it won't really be Imogene, it'll be Joanne McCoy. But Joanne changed her mind and came in a Wonder Woman costume, because, she said, if something does happen and people think I'm Imogene Herdman, they'll blame it on me. It was hard to imagine what could happen here that hadn't been planned out and arranged by the PTA and Mrs. Wendlekin. The whole place looked like back-to-school night. On back-to-school night, there are signs on all the doors so the parents won't get lost. The PA system is on with Mr. Crabtree giving directions and advice, and there are special exhibits in the halls, science projects and shoebox dioramas, and once Alice's popcorn map of Antarctica, which was pretty impressive till Claude and Ollie Herdman ate it, glue and all. Now on Halloween night, it was almost the same. There were signs on all the doors: Ghoul Gallery, Mystery Swamp, Ghostly Games. The PA system was on with lots of screeches and ghoulish laughter. That's Jolene Liggert's father on the PA, Luella said. But don't tell her I told you. She's too embarrassed. There were exhibits, too. Stacks of my mother's pumpkins everywhere. Cardboard bats hanging from the ceiling and a big scarecrow right inside the door. That's Dad's wash the car pants on that scarecrow, Charlie said. He was right, and this was good news for 2 reasons. It meant Charlie could see around the mop strings and I wouldn't have to lead him everywhere, and it meant my father probably wouldn't get drafted at the last minute to be a swamp zombie or something, since he already gave them his pants. Of course, nobody wore costumes on back-to-school night, so that was different. Now there were all the usual cartoon characters and ghosts and accident victims, some strange Dracula types all wrapped up in black, and a King Kong. We saw Boomer at the end of the hall, all brown and furry in a gorilla mask, so they must have found his grandmother's coat. Alice got her wish. She was the only Christmas tree. She had lights and decorations hung all over herself, with a big star on top of her head and jingle bells glued to her shoes. There was a long extension cord, too, hanging down her back, so you knew that sooner or later she would plug herself in somewhere and light herself up. Howard will like that, Luella said, and it won't be too scary for him. We weren't supposed to take Howard to anything scary, but so far that didn't look like much of a problem. We even heard Mr. Crabtree tell 2 kindergarten mothers, "Don't you worry, there's nothing scary in there." I guess that was important to the kindergarten mothers, but who knows what's scary to kindergarten kids? Eloise Albright's little brother is scared of fish. Wesley Potter's little sister is scared of bald people. So she was probably scared of Howard till something sprouted on his little head. Charlie used to be scared of Little Orphan Annie in old comic books because she didn't have any eyes, just round white circles. So we really couldn't know what would be scary to Howard, but almost the first thing we saw was scary to me. It was my mother, in a crooked witch hat and her take-out-the-trash sneakers, swooping back and forth in front of the mystery maze. "Now, Beth," she swooped sort of over to me, "don't look at me that way. I told you about this, and Mrs. Coburn broke her ankle, and—" Then I remembered that torn-off note on the refrigerator. This was what it said, that my mother was going to be a witch for everyone to see. "After all," Mother went on, "it's not as if I want to be doing this, and I'm certainly no good at it, but somebody had to fill in for Thelma Coburn. So are you having a good time?" She turned to Luella. "How about Howard? Is he having a good time?" "I guess so, Mrs. Bradley," Luella said. "He's not scared anyway." "Oh, no," Mother said, swooping back to the mystery maze. "There's nothing scary here." "That must be the whole idea," Luella said. "But I thought the whole idea was no Herdmans." "Maybe it's the same thing," I said. With nothing scary, nothing spooky, nothing unexpected, no trick or treat and no candy, and not even Herdmans to watch out for, it was turning into the worst Halloween ever. This is what everybody said. Boomer, Stuart, Joanne, Rosalie Sims, Albert Pelfrey. Worst Halloween ever. Even Alice was grumpy because she couldn't find a convenient outlet to plug herself in. I remember last year, Maxine Cooper said with a sigh. Remember the house where they strung cobwebs everywhere and the door was creaky and the doorbell was one awful scream? Oh, and that house where they gave out the big candy bars, somebody said. I got 57 different things last year, Albert said, and they were all good. Chocolate and peanut butter and... How did you know that? Alice barked at him. Did Ralph Herdman tell you you had 57 different things after he took your sack? Alice was especially grumpy with Albert because she could tell that next to her he had the best costume of all, and it didn't depend on electricity. Albert had half a laundry basket tied in front of him, with clothes hanging out of it, and bottles of detergent and bleach stuck in among the clothes. A sign across his back said, "Dirty laundry." But it's not really dirty, Albert said. It's just old stuff full of holes. Too bad I didn't know Albert, I said. My whole family is here in old stuff full of holes. My brother's an old slipcover. I'm in old bedroom curtains. My mother's wearing her take-out-the-trash sneakers, and my father's wash-the-car pants are on the scarecrow. Is he in them? Stuart asked. Your father? No, it's just his pants. He isn't in them. Well, Stuart shrugged. Someone is. He was right. There was somebody inside the scarecrow costume, reaching up to scratch its head, crossing one leg over the other one. I don't think that's your father, Luella said. It's not tall enough, and it's too tall to be your brother. It doesn't have to be someone from my family, Luella, just because it's our pants, I said. It's probably just some short teacher, Boomer said. He was right behind us, and I suddenly remembered seeing Boomer twice before. Once he was King Kong, and once he was... I turned around. Boomer was a happy hobo. Boomer, I said, where's your costume? This is it. Remember? I told you. But you were King Kong, Luella said. We saw you. I saw you too, Joanne said, in some old fur coat. My grandmother's coat? Boomer said. Who's in my grandmother's coat? Who's in my father's pants, I wondered. Who was the scarecrow? Who was King Kong? I wonder if you have any guess who it might be. Don't know. Let's find out tomorrow.